card. And we see that the blue and the, it looks like the blue and the red player, maybe the orange player who's on the 8, the blue and red players will both receive sheep on an 8. There's a good close-up of the board there. So blue and red both receive 1 sheep card when an 8 is rolled. And that's one of the important parts of the game, is that every player can receive resources, even if it's not your turn. If you have a building and your number comes up, you get that resource. After you give resources to players, your options are to trade and build, and you can do that as much as you like over the course of your turn. So you can trade with other players, things that you have extra of for things that you need, and there are 4 different things that you can build during the course of the game. Those are roads, settlements, cities, and development cards. So, what do those do for you? Well, roads are important because roads allow you to move out across the island. So from your starting position, if you pay a lumber and a brick, you now can build a road. Roads built next to roads or other buildings that you have. Roads are important because they let you get to sites that you can build more settlements. Settlements cost you a brick, a wood, a grain, and a sheep. Settlements are worth 1 victory point to you. They also give you more resource capability. So you'll be able to get more stuff because you'll be on more numbers and more hexes. Also important when you build a settlement, it has to be at least 2 hex sides away from any other building on the board. So when you're building, you have to build on your own road, and you have to build at least 2 away from any other building. So that's, again, roads are important to get you far enough away from your own settlements to build more settlements. Cities are upgrades to settlements. So for 2 grain and 2 ore, you can upgrade a settlement to a city. It's now worth 2 victory points instead of 1 victory point, and it produces double. So you'll get 2 grain for a city that produces grain versus a settlement which will only produce 1 grain. And finally, the development card. It's a special deck of cards that you can draw from. It's a sheep, a grain, and an ore. Development cards can be victory points. They can be special cards that have effects like letting you build free roads, taking resources from the deck, or perhaps stealing resources from other players. Most of the deck is knights, and knights allow you to move the robber. Who's the robber, you may ask? On a 7, you do not produce resources. There are no hexes on the board that produce resources on a 7. Instead, you have a robber, and that robber is going to move around the island, block production of a hex, and also allows the player to steal a card, a resource card from you. It also has another important function, which is that when a 7 is rolled, all players must check their hands of their resources to determine if they have 8 or more. If they do, they lose half of their resources. So resources are not a good thing to hoard on the island of Catan. Then the player who rolls a 7 will move the robber to a new hex on the island, turning that production off and stealing a card from a player who has a building on that hex. The only other thing that we can talk about for the moment as far as the basics of the game are the harbors. Normally you'll be trading with other players because other players are usually much cheaper to trade with than the bank. The bank will let you trade with it, but however it's really expensive because the bank will trade 4 to 1 with another player. So if you are with the bank, so in the case of the bank, I could trade 4 grain and get 1 sheep. I could trade 4 ore and get 1 wood. Harbors on the outside of the board give the opportunity to improve your trading capabilities with the bank. So if, for example, we were sitting on a 2 to 1 wood port, as we're seeing right there, that would let me trade with the bank 2 wood for any 1 other resource. There are also 3 to 1 ports around the board, which let me trade 3 of anything for 1 of something else. So harbors are a way for you to find trading opportunities when players won't let you do that. So that's the basics of Catan. Certainly there are some other details such as the starting setup and whatnot that you can explore. What we'd recommend is if you really would like another more in-depth look at Catan and many of its scenarios and variations, go out to White Glove Movies on the MayfairGames.com website and check out the Settlers of Catan as well as the expansions, Seafarers, Cities and Knights, and Traders and Barbarians, and you can get a video overview of all of those products.
What the viewers will see a little bit later in the game is there are two other cards that aren't development cards, but they're victory point cards or placards that the players can earn based on two criteria. One of them is the first player who builds a continuous string of 5 roads will get the longest road card, and that is worth 2 victory points. They will maintain that card for as long as they have the longest continuous road line on the board. If someone else builds one that's longer, they lose that card, and the person who built the longer road will then get that 2-point card. In addition to the longest road card, we also have the largest army card. There are many, many knights inside of that development deck. The first person to reveal 3 knights will get the largest army card, which is also, once again, worth 2 points. For as long as they have more revealed knights on the board than anybody else in the game, they will retain that 2-point card. Once again, if someone else shows more knights than that person who revealed the larger amount of knights will get that 2-point card. That person who had it will lose it.
So one of the things that you'll note on the when we show you the scores for the table, and we'll certainly try and give you a quick update on the scores here shortly, is we always will let you know who has the longest road and the largest army, because those are volatile points. If someone has 5 points and doesn't have either one of those 2 things, they have 5 points and can never be taken away from them. If they have 7 points and they have longest road, there are 2 points of their 7 that can easily disappear if someone were to build a longer road. So we show you those things as part of our scoring in order to let you know just how volatile someone's score might be. So roads continue to abound on the island of Catan. Blue player has got another settlement down on the road on the 10-12-4 spot. We have one more question on the live stream we wanted to address, which is the playing of development cards. Development cards are a really powerful part of the game, but there are limits to how many you can use and how many are available to you. So on your turn, you can buy as many development cards as you like. However, you can only play 1 development card per turn, and you can't play a development card on the same turn that you buy it. The one exception to that are the victory point cards. Victory point cards are basically sandbag victory points. You can set them aside. You don't have to reveal them until you're ready to win the game, at which point you can simply reveal as many of them as you like, including on the turn that you get them. And if you have enough to win, you've won. So any face-down development card that you see around the table, anything that you see a development card that face down for more than a couple of turns, you automatically have to assume it's a victory point card until proven otherwise.
When you're drawing those development cards, those stay secret to you, just as your resource cards are secret to you in your hand. Those development cards can never be taken away from you. You play them, once again, with the limitation of 1 per turn. However, the victory point cards, there's 5 of them, of the 25 development cards that come with the game, 5 of those are victory point cards, and all of them are worth 1 victory point each. So, with the cards being laid face down on the table, you may assume that one of your opponents has more victory points than is actually showing on the board. The point totals that we're showing you during the course of this broadcast will be the point totals that everybody sees, because we do not know what those drawn development cards that are face down in front of the players are. So when we show that a player has 6 points, we're only going to show you a value of 6 as far as their score is concerned, because we do not know whether or not they have development cards that are worth victory.
we'd like you to experience the same tension as the rest of the players around the table of wondering just exactly what that face-down development card might be. So, and as you've seen, we can see those victory point cards can be played for devastating effect, as we saw in the semifinal round, where we had players jump from 6 to 10 points and 5 to 10 points with the use of multiple victory point cards. So again, a reminder of the people that you are watching play Catan here this afternoon for the finals of the 2012 World Catan Championship. Rainer Biela from Germany is playing the orange pieces. Herbert Schager is from Austria and is playing blue. Chiwai Chan from Hong Kong is playing white. And Kristinas Norika from Lithuania is playing red. So these are your 4 contestants who are vying to become the best Catan player in the world as of 2012.
And Justice does have to leave. He has 4 points in his number. Herbert and Joe, you have 3, and Reiner is still at
For those of you who might have joined us late, Justinas made a rather bold move early on with his placements by placing both of his starting settlements on the same numbers, 8, 5, 11 space for both of them. So that's often a very risky strategy. Either you're going to get a lot of resources, or you're not going to get a lot of resources at all. And in his case, he got lucky. The first 2 rolls of the game were 8s and 11s, and provided him with a fistful of cards that allowed him to get a first settlement, a third settlement on the board with his very first play.
And of course, that immediately made him a target. And as it stands right now, the robber is on the 5 where his second settlement went down, and has been oscillating back and forth between his hexes that he has some rain over.
So action continues, and we're looking forward to seeing us kind of lurch into mid-game. Right now, we're still very stutter start, trying to get some activity and action up on the board here. But I think players are at least starting to get a direction for their engine, determining whether or not they're going to go after a city as perhaps their first play, whether or not they're going to try and get a first, try and get another settlement up on the board, or whether perhaps diving in the dev card deck for something a little more elaborate is going to be the way to go. So we'll see how the players kind of go with. But as we continue to watch the action here on the final table, or I guess it's not really a final table, the final piece of carpeting, which is going to pass for a table here. We'd like to actually take a moment and introduce we're going to take a few moments here and talk a little bit about the variety of people here that are actually helping to put this thing together. Of course, we have lots of people to thank, but one of the most important people that we'd like to be able to thank as part of our broadcast and as part of our entire festivities here is the president of Mayfair Games, Larry Rosnine. So, been a pretty cool weekend, huh?
Yes, it has been. Thanks for inviting me into the booth here, guys.
It's not a problem. You're free to walk in at any time you want.
I always wanted to do the Monday night thing and just walk into the booth and say, "Hi, how are you?"
Show off your Super Bowl ring.
Yeah, you are my Super Bowl ring.
You're looking live now from Metropolitan Stadium in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Yes, at the Catan World Carpet Championships.
Yeah.
So apparently,
when is the carpet line coming out?
carpet line. Apparently, our Germans made some kind of move here. But no, I just wanted to thank you guys for doing journeyman work here on this whole thing, keeping this whole thing together, and all the technical crew and everybody that's been around.
Well, it's a labor of love here, and unfortunately for Alex and myself, it's really 2 faces that were made for radio.
Yes, they were. Mine as well, but really that's okay.
But the Pope Gamer guys have been great being able to get this all set up to actually be able to live broadcast all of the different rounds, the tournaments yesterday, of course, the semifinals and the finals today, and it's been a lot of fun. It's been great following the chatter on a live stream and on Twitter to see the people who are enjoying this for the first time, or perhaps didn't think they'd have the opportunity to watch a game. as part of this, and now I've got a chance to see almost the entire tournament one way or another.
Well, apparently I've got 2 fans and one guy who wants to sell me a game here on the Twitter, on the feed, so that's always good. You know. But no, I just thought I'd come in here and take a look at this thing. I've been watching these guys do this now for the last however long they were playing, 45 minutes or whatnot.
And apparently we're not fired yet.
And you're not fired yet.
Which is, and that's a good thing because there's only 4 points. Just this only has 4 points. So.
So we need to stop rolling 7s and start rolling resources here.
But I just like to say in general, going around talking to the different contestants that have been here this weekend and everything, and of course yesterday was a marathon. I just like to say that's my observation. That's because of the increased level of play that we have from all these people. And somebody had asked before how many folks were. Somebody answered the question 42, and that is indeed how many people were here. But what they didn't say is that those 42 people are probably representing somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,000 to 2,000 people playing to get here in the first place. And we can't emphasize that enough. It's not just 42 folks that got tossed into this mix.
You know, we talk about the idea that if you wanted to be the U.S. contestant here from Gen Con, you had to go through 192 people in the qualifying rounds. And at that point, you're playing against the 16 best people from that round, plus 16 people who each individually won tournaments and had to beat all of those people in order